The night had teeth. Rain fell like static over Miami, washing neon into the gutters and turning the city into a fevered dream of color and danger. The palms bent under the storm, the streets glistened like mirrors, and every shadow seemed alive with secrets. Camila Reyes pulled her hood tighter, head down, trying not to meet anyone's eyes as she hurried along Cale Ocho. The storm had come out of nowhere, and with it, the kind of silence that didn't belong in this part of town. The silence that meant asterisk. Someone was watching. Asterisk, she was late. Her boss hated that. The club, La Gloria Roja, sat between two abandoned warehouses, its crimson sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. Music thudded from inside, Latin rhythms, low and hypnotic, wrapping the night in heat and perfume. Camila worked the late shift behind the bar. Not because she loved it, but because it kept her moving, and movement was the only way she knew to forget. For 2 years, she'd been running from the same thing, the face of the man she'd once loved and the bullet. She'd watched him fire. Alejandro Silva. They called him El Lobo del Sur, the Wolf of the South, cartel lord, ex-soldier, ghost, man who'd built an empire out of other people's fear. And once upon a time, he'd told her she was the only thing that made him human. She hadn't seen him since the night. Everything burned. Until now. The bar was packed when she walked in, a mess of heat, smoke, and laughter. She slipped behind the counter, tied her apron, and forced her hands to stop shaking. "You're late again," said Luz, her coworker, a sharp-tongued Cuban woman with a gold tooth and zero patience. "Traffic," Camila lied. Luz rolled her eyes. "Traffic doesn't make your eyes red, Mia. You've been crying again?" Camila froze. "No." Luz leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You need to stop looking over your shoulder. Whoever you think is watching, they're not." Camila managed a weak smile. "I'll try." But as she turned to pour a drink, she saw him, standing at the far end of the bar, half hidden by the glow of the blue lights. Alejandro. He hadn't changed, not really. His hair was shorter now, his beard trimmed, but the same stillness clung to him, the kind that made the world move slower around him. He wore a dark suit, open at the collar, rainwater still glistening on his shoulders. Their eyes met, and the air went thin. She looked away, heart pounding. Her hands trembled as she reached for a glass. It slipped, shattered on the floor. Luz cursed. "Jesus, Camila," but Camila didn't hear her. She heard only the echo of a voice she thought she'd buried. Asterisk, you cried too easily, Camila. Someday the wrong man will notice. Asterisk, he had been that man. And now, he was here. When she finally forced herself to look again, he was gone from the bar. Panic clawed up her throat. She turned, scanning the crowd. Nothing. Then she felt it, a presence behind her. The faint scent of smoke and leather. She froze. "Still breaking glass when you're nervous?" he murmured. She turned slowly. He stood inches away, eyes dark and unreadable. Alejandro. His name barely left her lips before he smiled. Small, dangerous. "You still say it like a prayer." "I thought you were dead." "Everyone did." Her chest tightened. "Why are you here?" "To see if you'd forgotten me." She swallowed hard. "I tried." He leaned closer. "And?" Her voice cracked. "I failed." The crowd roared behind them, but for Camila, the world had gone silent. She could feel his gaze trace her face, the freckles, the tears she hadn't noticed fall. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you can still read me." He smiled faintly. "You forget me, Reina. I taught you how to hide. I can see every lie you think you tell." She turned away. "You shouldn't be here. The DEA's been in and out of this neighborhood for months. You walk in like this, they'll see you." "They won't," he said. "They never do. And if they did, they'd wish they hadn't." "Still arrogant," she said, forcing a laugh. "Still alive." He reached into his coat pocket and placed a small envelope on the bar. "For you." She stared at it but didn't touch. "What is it?" "A name." "Whose?" "The man who ordered your father's death." Her stomach dropped. "No, yes," he said softly. "And before you tell me you don't want revenge, remember, he's the same man who sold your name to me." The words hit her like a slap. "Sold?" He nodded. "The night we met, you thought it was chance." It wasn't. He traded your life for mine. Camila staggered back. You're lying. Do I look like a man who needs to? Her heart twisted. Why tell me now? Because he's coming for you. She shook her head. No one's coming for me. You're just trying to pull me back in. He stepped closer, the air between them electric and suffocating. Camila, you think I came here to hurt you? You think I'd crawl out of hell for anything less than you? Her voice trembled. You destroyed everything I loved. He exhaled sharply, eyes flashing with something raw. And I never forgave myself for it. The storm outside cracked against the windows. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she whispered, You should go. He looked at her for a long time, long enough to memorize her again. You're crying, he said quietly. She wiped at her cheek, angry. It's the rain. His gaze softened. No, it's not. He reached out, fingertips brushing the corner of her jaw, catching a single tear. You can lie to anyone, Camila. But not me. I see everything. Her breath hitched. Then you see what you did to me. Yes, he said. Every night. He dropped his hand, stepping back. Read the letter. Then decide if you want me gone. Before she could reply, he turned and disappeared into the crowd, a ghost swallowed by thunder. When she opened the envelope later, behind the locked door of her apartment, she found two things inside. A photograph of a man she didn't recognize. Bald. Middle-aged, wearing a gold ring with a Wolf's insignia. And beneath it, a note written in the same familiar, deliberate handwriting that once traced her spine like scripture. Asterisk, he killed your father. He's the one who sent me to find you. Greater than, now he's coming for both of us. Greater than, don't hide your tears anymore. Camila. Greater than, because I see you. Asterisk, the ink was smudged at the end, as if he'd written it in the rain. She stared at it until dawn, her pulse shaking her whole body. Then she folded the note, tucked it beneath her heart, and whispered into the empty room, Greater than, you shouldn't have come back. But even as she said it, she already knew it was too late. Because no one hides from the man who sees everything. Morning came slow to Miami. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt swollen, heavy with thunder that refused to leave. The city glimmered under a thin film of humidity, every sound muffled, like the world was still holding its breath. Camila Reyes sat on her balcony, barefoot, a cup of coffee cooling between her hands. She hadn't slept. The envelope lay open on the table, the photo staring back at her. The man's face seemed to follow her, pale eyes, thin mouth. The gold ring with the Wolf insignia gleaming like a curse. His name was scrawled in the corner of the photograph, written in Alejandro's careful hand. Gabriel Duarte. The name meant nothing to her. But the moment she'd read it, her heart had recognized it anyway, because Alejandro's words were never casual. When he said he's coming for you, it meant death was already moving. A knock on the door made her flinch. She froze. Heart pounding, the city outside suddenly too quiet. Then came a voice, soft, hesitant. It's me, Luz. Open up, girl. You're scaring me. Camila exhaled, relief trembling through her. She opened the door. Luz stood there, damp from the heat, chewing gum like she was trying to kill a memory. You didn't answer your phone, Luz said. I thought maybe you. She stopped when she saw the look on Camila's face. What happened? Camila hesitated, then lied. Bad dream. Luz snorted. That kind of dream? No, Camila said, forcing a smile. Worse. She tried to hide the photo, but Luz caught it anyway. Who's that? No one. Luz studied her for a long moment, then sighed. You've got that look again. The one you had before you disappeared 2 years ago. Camila's stomach twisted. It's nothing, Luz. Nothing doesn't make your hands shake like that. Luz stepped closer, her voice low. Is it him? Camila said nothing. That bastard, Luz muttered. He's the reason you left. Don't tell me he's back. Camila turned away. Please, just drop it. But Luz knew her too well. Listen to me, Mia. You can't outrun men like him. You can only survive them. And if he's back, you run. Not tomorrow. Now. Camila's throat tightened. And go where? Anywhere he isn't. Camila looked out the window, at the skyline, the glittering towers, the sea that had once been her refuge. There's nowhere he isn't. That night she went back to work. The club throbbed with noise and light, sweat and perfume clinging to every breath. She poured drinks, smiled when she had to, and kept her back to the door. But when she looked up, she saw the note again in her mind. Don't hide your tears anymore, Camila. Because I see you. And she knew he was near. She felt it. The shift in the air, the pull in her chest. The world had always gone quieter when he entered it. She turned. He was in the corner booth this time. Not hiding, not blending in. He never did. Men like him didn't blend. They ruled by presence alone. Alejandro sat in the shadows, cigarette smoke curling around him like fog. Eyes locked on her. She felt her breath leave her body. When their eyes met, he tilted his head slightly. The faintest command, come here. She didn't move. Then he stood. Within seconds, he was beside her behind the bar. No one saw him come. No one even noticed. That was his gift, to make violence look like grace. Working again, he said. I thought you'd left the city. I thought you were smart enough not to come back to it, she said. His mouth curved. Not quite a smile. Touché. You shouldn't be here. I told you I go where I need to. And what do you need here? He studied her face, eyes narrowing slightly. You, don't, she said, voice trembling. Don't start that again. It's not a start. It's a continuation. I don't want to be part of your world anymore. Then stop pretending it isn't already part of you. She tried to move past him, but he caught her wrist, gentle but unyielding. Camila, he said softly. You need to listen to me. I'm done listening to you. Gabriel Duarte isn't just some ghost from my past. He's the man who ran the arms shipments through your father's company. The night your father died, Duarte called the hit. She blinked. What are you saying? I'm saying your father didn't die because of me. He died because of Duarte. And Duarte's cleaning house. You're next. Her stomach turned cold. How do you know? Because I trained him. The words came out heavy, final. She stepped back, her voice breaking. You what? Before the cartel, he said quietly. Before the empire, before us. He was my right hand. I made him powerful. And then he wanted what I had. Me, she whispered. Yes, Alejandro said. You. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant but deliberate. Why now? She asked. Why come back? He took a breath that sounded like confession. Because Duarte made a deal with the D. He's giving up names, mine, yours, everyone's. Mine? You were the witness that never testified, Camila. You saw too much. You remember too much. And you think I'll be safer with you? His jaw tightened. I know you will. She stared at him, heart torn between fury and the ache that never really left. Every time I let you near me, someone dies. He stepped closer, the storm reflected in his eyes. Then maybe this time I'll make it count. She wanted to slap him, scream, anything, but instead she whispered, You still think you can save me? He leaned in, voice low enough that only she could hear. No, I'm trying to save what's left of me. Their faces were inches apart. The smell of smoke and rain filled her lungs. And then he said it, quietly, like a vow. You cry, I see it. You hide, I find you. You run, I follow. That's what you made of me, Camila. Her throat tightened. Then what am I supposed to do with that? Survive it. Later that night, when the club finally closed, she walked home through the humid streets, the storm clouds breaking open above her again. She told herself she didn't look back. But she did. And through the rain, half a block behind, she saw him. Alejandro, following at a distance, keeping to the shadows. He didn't call out. He didn't move closer. He just watched, protecting, haunting, always seeing. Camila reached her door, unlocked it with trembling hands, and stepped inside. There on the table was another envelope, her name written in his hand. Inside was a single phrase. No signature, no explanation. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. the pier. Come if you want to live. Her tears fell silently as the rain hit the windows again. She tried to hide them, out of habit, out of fear, but even then, she knew the truth. Somewhere out there, in the dark. He already saw them, and he was coming. The morning broke like a wound, gray. Slow, uncertain, Camila Reyes stood at the end of Pier 9, where the Miami air smelled of salt and gasoline, the ocean restless beneath a dull sky. Her hair whipped against her face in the wind. The world around her was quiet. Too quiet for a city that never slept. The note from Alejandro burned in her pocket. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., the pier. Come if you want to live. Every instinct told her to run. But something deeper, the old, dangerous rhythm of her heart, had brought her here. She glanced around, searching for him. Only seagulls and mist. The kind of silence that means the world is holding its breath. Before something happens, then she saw him. He emerged from the fog like a ghost returning to claim the living. Black coat, damp from the sea spray. Eyes that saw everything. Alejandro, she said. Her voice carried away by the wind. He stopped a few feet away, hands empty. No visible weapon, which meant the real ones were close by. You came, he said quietly. You said I'd die if I didn't. He almost smiled. And you still thought about it. I always think about it, she said. Every time I see your face. He didn't answer. The silence between them was as heavy as the tide. Finally, he said, I have something you need to see. He handed her a folded photograph. Worn and water-stained. It was of her father, younger, standing beside two men in military uniforms. One of them was Alejandro. The other, Gabriel Duarte. Camila stared at it, breath trembling. What is this? The truth, Alejandro said. Your father wasn't a victim. He was one of us. Her head snapped up. No, he helped move money through his company. Cleaned it, hid it, made us legitimate. You're lying. I wish I was. But Duarte kept records. He used your father's name, his accounts, his ships. When your father wanted out, Duarte made sure there was no out. Camila's voice broke. You're saying my father was killed for wanting to stop? Alejandro nodded once. He thought turning himself in would save you. But Duarte found out first. She stumbled back, tears burning her eyes. And you? Where were you? He looked away. Too late. Always too late. Why didn't you tell me? Because I thought you deserved a world that didn't have my name in it. She laughed bitterly. And how did that work out? He stepped closer. I see what you've become. Camila, strong, sharp. You've survived a world that kills women like you before they can breathe. But Duarte's not done. He wants the proof your father kept. Files, ledgers, names. He thinks you have them. I don't. Doesn't matter. He'll come anyway. Then let him, she said. I'm done running. He studied her for a moment, something like pride flickering behind his eyes. Then we ended together. She frowned. What does that mean? It means I'm done hiding too. They left the pier and drove north, out past the city, to a small house that sat on the edge of the Everglades. The road there was narrow, surrounded by tall grass and still water that hid alligators and secrets. Inside, the air smelled like old wood and whiskey. Maps and photographs lined the walls. This was your base? She asked. It's not mine anymore, he said. But it's safe. For how long? Long enough to tell you the rest. He poured 2 glasses, handed her one. Your father wasn't the only one who wanted out, he said. I did too. Camila froze. You? He nodded. I built something I couldn't control. Every death, every shipment, every dollar. It all came back to me. And when I tried to end it, Duarte turned my own men against me. That's why I disappeared. You faked your death. It was the only way to keep them from finding you. She shook her head. You always make it sound noble. It's not. You lied. You left me to mourn a man who wasn't dead. His jaw tightened. Would you have preferred to watch me become what they made me? She met his gaze, her voice trembling. You already were. The words hit him harder than a bullet. He turned away, staring out the window into the endless marsh. Maybe you're right. I am, she said. But that doesn't mean I stopped loving you. He turned back, eyes dark, unreadable. Don't say that. It's true. He stepped toward her, voice low, breaking. You shouldn't love what destroys you. Then why are you here, Alejandro? He hesitated. Because I can't stop loving what sees me. The silence between them cracked open, fragile, electric. Then he leaned in, so close she could feel the warmth of his breath. "You hide your tears," he whispered, "but I feel them. Everyone." Her breath caught. "Then tell me what I'm crying for." "For what we lost," he said. "And for what we're about to do." He led her to a locked drawer, pulled it open, and took out a small metal drive. "This," he said, "is the proof Duarte wants. Every account, every deal, every life he touched. Your father hid a copy. Duarte doesn't know I found it." Camila stared at it. "Why not destroy it?" "Because if I do, he wins, and if you keep it, he'll come for me. For us." "Then we destroy it together," she said. He looked at her, and for the first time, something like relief flickered in his eyes. "You'd do that?" "Yes," she said softly. "Because I'm tired of surviving. I want to live." He smiled, small, wounded. "You sound like him." "Who?" "Your father." Before she could respond, the window shattered. Bullets tore through the room. "Down!" Alejandro shouted, dragging her behind the table. The air filled with gunfire and splintered glass. Camila's ears rang, her vision swimming. She saw movement outside, black SUVs, armed men spilling out. Duarte's insignia glinted on their sleeves. "How did they find us?" she cried. Alejandro's voice was tight. "Because I let them." Her head snapped toward him. "What? I needed them to come. This is the only way it ends." "Alejandro." He grabbed her hand, pressed the drive into it. "If I don't make it, no. You burn it. You hear me? I'm not leaving you." He looked at her, eyes fierce, desperate. "Camila, I need you alive. That's my price, and yours." He smiled faintly. "To make sure they don't touch you again." Then he stood, gun in hand, and stepped into the storm of bullets. She screamed his name, but he didn't turn back. When the smoke cleared, the world was fire and ruin. The house was half collapsed, the air thick with the smell of salt, smoke, and gunpowder. Camila crawled through the wreckage, coughing, eyes burning. "Alejandro!" No answer, only silence, and the ocean wind carrying the faint sound of sirens. She looked down at the drive in her palm, blood smeared, cracked, still warm, the secret that had built and destroyed them both. She clutched it to her chest, tears falling freely now, no longer hidden, somewhere in the smoke. She swore she heard his voice, soft, steady. The way he used to say her name. "I see you." "Camila." The fire burned for hours. By the time the flames died and the sirens faded, the house was gone, a blackened skeleton against the silver edge of the Everglades. Smoke curled into the dawn, carrying with it the last of what Camila Reyes had left. She sat on the ground, barefoot, covered in ash, the metal drive clutched in her hand like a rosary. Her whole body shook, though the air was warm. Somewhere beyond the smoke, a police drone circled, its red light sweeping across the wreckage. There were no bodies. No sign of Alejandro Silva, only blood. Only silence, the silence that always followed him. She didn't cry at first. She couldn't. Grief needed air, and she couldn't find any. When the agents arrived, they treated her like collateral. They asked questions she didn't answer. They searched the ruins and found nothing but burned glass and bullet shells. She told them she didn't know who the men were. She told them she didn't know him. It was easier than telling them the truth. That he'd once kissed her like she was the last good thing left in the world. When they let her go, she walked until her legs gave out. Until the swamp turned to road and the road turned to city again. She didn't look back. 3 days later, she sat in a cheap motel on the edge of Key Largo, staring at the flash drive on the nightstand. The rain hadn't stopped since the fire. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face lit by the flames, the flash of the gunfire. The way his mouth had shaped her name before the world went dark. Camila didn't believe in ghosts, but she could feel him everywhere. In the shadows. In the rain. In the pulse under her skin. And the drive, his last secret, stared back at her like it wanted to breathe. She plugged it in. The screen came alive with folders. Accounts, locations, witnesses, deaths, and at the very bottom, one marked simply, CR, her initials. Her hand trembled as she clicked it open. Inside were photos of her. Surveillance images. Every place she'd been since she fled Miami. Every home. Every job. Every tear. The timestamps went back years, and at the bottom of the list, the most recent one. Photo taken outside La Gloria Roja just 2 nights ago. She was standing at the door, head turned, eyes red, a note attached beneath it. She still cries when she thinks no one is watching. Camila's breath broke. The room spun. He'd been watching her all along. Even when she thought she was free, he hadn't just protected her. He'd followed her, every hidden photograph, every shadow she'd felt. It had been him. That night, she dreamed of the ocean. Alejandro stood waist-deep in the water, the waves cutting his reflection into fragments. He looked up at her and smiled, slow, almost human. "Are you going to keep running from me?" he asked. "I don't run anymore," she said. "Then what are you afraid of?" "Of becoming what you are." He stepped closer, the water darkening around him. "You already are me, Reina. You just hide it better." When she woke, her pillow was damp with tears. She didn't hide them this time. By dawn, Camila had made her choice. She dressed simply, jeans, a gray hoodie, and took the drive, slipping it into her pocket. Then she walked to the beach. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still bruised. The wind heavy with salt. She found a quiet spot by the rocks, crouched and dug into the sand with her hands until the earth turned wet and cold. The flash drive glinted once in the light. "You don't get to live in me anymore," she whispered. Then she buried it. The tide would take it. The ocean would swallow it. And maybe then she could breathe again. She stood, brushing the sand from her hands. That's when she heard it. A car door slamming somewhere behind her. Camila froze. A man's voice called out over the wind. "Camila!" Her heart stopped. She turned slowly. He was there. Alejandro. Alive. He looked different now. Pale, thin, his arm in a sling, blood still drying on his collar. But the eyes, those eyes were still the same, the eyes of a man who saw too much, loved too hard, and never learned how to stop. "You're alive," she whispered. "Barely," he said, stepping closer. "You buried it?" She nodded. "It's done. Good." He glanced toward the horizon, the sun bleeding orange through the clouds. "Then it's over." She shook her head. "It's never over with you." He smiled faintly. "You say that like it's a curse." "It is." He exhaled slowly, looking at her the way he always did, like she was something he'd never forgive himself for wanting. "You know what I see when I look at you?" he asked. She didn't answer. "Everything I should have been," he said. "And everything I'll never be." "You don't get to romanticize this," she said, tears blurring her vision. "You don't get to die and come back just to haunt me again." "I didn't come to haunt you," he said. "I came to give you a choice." "What choice?" He took a step closer, his voice soft but unrelenting. "Walk away. Leave Miami, forget me. Start again, and if I don't, then you'll bleed with me." Camila's breath trembled. "You think love is bleeding, Alejandro." "It's not." He smiled, sad and slow. "It's all I've ever known." She shook her head, stepping back. "You don't see me anymore. You see what you broke." He moved closer. "No, I see you exactly as you are. Stronger than me, crueler than me, freer than me." "Then let me be free," she whispered. He nodded once. "Then go." She hesitated. "And you?" He looked past her, at the ocean swallowing the shore. "I'll stay." The wind picked up, scattering sand between them. "You'll die if you stay," she said. He smiled faintly. "Maybe that's the point." Camila's chest ached. She reached out, touched his face, cold, rough, too real. "Why do you keep coming back?" She whispered. "Because I see you," he said. "Even when you hide. Even when you hate me. Even when you're gone." And then, as if the words had taken everything left in him, he turned and walked toward the surf. She watched until the tide reached his knees, until the mist swallowed his outline, until he was gone again. Camila stood there for a long time, the wind tugging at her hair, the sound of the waves filling her chest. She didn't cry. Not because she couldn't, but because he'd already seen every tear she had left, and somewhere, deep in the sea's roar, she swore she heard his voice again. "I see you." Camila. Always. The ocean had taken him. Or maybe he had finally let it. For 3 days, Camila Reyes stayed near the water. She slept on the beach beneath the pier, her skin tasting of salt and wind, the waves her only company. The police came once, asking questions about the fire in the Everglades, the missing man, the names tied to blood and smoke. She said nothing. They left her alone. Everyone did. By the fourth dawn, the storm had passed, and the sky over Miami was clear. Too clear, almost cruel in its beauty. The kind of morning that made grief look small and unworthy. Camille walked barefoot along the shoreline, her footsteps swallowed by the tide. The world was quiet. But inside her, everything was loud. Every word he'd said, every sin he'd carried, every moment he'd chosen to see her when no one else dared. She still felt him, not in the world around her, but inside her bones like a pulse that refused to stop. At noon, she returned to the motel. A package waited at her door. No label! No name. Her breath hitched as she picked it up. It was small, wrapped in brown paper. She carried it to the bed, tore it open with trembling hands. Inside, a single cassette tape and a note. The handwriting was his. If you're reading this, then I didn't make it back. You never believed in fate, Camila. But fate believes in you. Play the tape! Then decide what to keep of me. Her fingers shook as she set the cassette into the old player by the window. When the tape began, she nearly stopped breathing. His voice filled the room, low, quiet, frayed around the edges. If this finds you, it means Duarte's dead. Or I am, maybe both. You always said I saw too much. That it was my curse. But it wasn't. It was the only way I knew how to love you, by seeing you completely. Every tear, every lie, every scar you tried to hide. You made me want to be blind, Camila. Blind to the world, blind to the blood, blind to the parts of me that never deserved you. But love doesn't fix monsters. It just teaches them to die for something that matters. You were my something. The tape clicked softly as if it too was catching its breath. Then, if you're hearing this, don't look for me. Don't wait for me. There's a bank on Kale 21, Locker 38. The keys taped to the back of this recorder. Inside, there's enough to start over. Money, papers, freedom. The kind I could never give you. Live, don't hide. Don't cry for me anymore. If you do, I'll see it. And I don't want to see you cry again. The tape ended. Camila sat in silence, staring at the player. Then she laughed, soft, broken, disbelieving. Even dead, you're giving me orders. But the sound melted into tears. She didn't fight this time. The next morning, she took the key to the bank. The locker was exactly where he said it would be. Inside was a small envelope of cash, a passport under a false name, and one last photo, the two of them, years ago. On the balcony of her old apartment, sunlight in their hair, his arm around her shoulders. On the back, a few words scrawled in that sharp, steady hand. You were never my weakness. You were my proof that I could still see beauty. Camila traced the letters with her thumb, the paper soft from age. Then she walked outside and didn't look back. Weeks passed. She left Miami, traveled north, changed her name to Lucia Torres, and rented a small room in Savannah, near the river where the fog rolled in like old ghosts. She got a job at a bookshop. The days were quiet, uneventful, and yet some nights, when the rain returned, she'd catch her reflection in the shop window and see him standing behind her. Not as he died, but as he had been before it all. Alive, laughing, dangerous, endlessly patient. She'd close her eyes, whisper to the empty air, I'm not crying, Alejandro. And in the rhythm of the rain against the glass, she almost always heard it back, that low, steady voice. I know. I see you anyway. Months became a year. Camila never went back to Miami, but the sea never let her go either. She took long walks by the river, carrying a notebook where she wrote pieces of him. Fragments of truth, of pain, of love, too wild to name. She didn't write his name. She didn't need to. The pages already knew, and one morning when the sun broke through the fog, she left the notebook on a park bench. Someone would find it, or maybe no one would. It didn't matter, because for the first time in her life, she wasn't writing to be seen. She was writing because she finally understood the kind of love that survives ruin, not the kind that saves you. The kind that changes what saving means. That night, as thunder rolled over the city, Camila lay awake, listening to the rain, and somewhere between waking and dreaming, She felt him again, not beside her, but within her. The ghost of his hand on her skin. The echo of his breath against her neck. The words she'd never stop hearing. You cry, I see it. You hide, I find you. You run, I follow. But this time she wasn't afraid because she knew that seeing wasn't his curse anymore. It was his way of letting her go. And in the darkness, with the storm raging outside, Camila Reyes smiled through the tears she no longer tried to hide. For the first time, she let them fall freely because somewhere beyond the horizon, in whatever place men like him go when the world is done with them, Alejandro Silva was finally watching her, not as the woman he'd broken, but as the one who survived him, and that was all the redemption either of them would ever need. The end.